One of my favorite programs is Henry Louis Gates's Finding Your Roots. I watch it a lot, and I even watch it over again, although I may have seen the same people, because the process of digging back and then discovering who we come from and how we got to be here today is fascinating. And often people find incredible things they didn't know about their own ancestry. Sometimes it can be disturbing. Most of the time it's, wow, I didn't know I was part of all of this. So today what I'd like to do is take this whole concept of genealogy and deepen it a bit, expand it a lot, and then move it into the realm of the metaphysical. So stay with me. And as I put this talk together and was looking at materials, I was led into seeing how we humans emerged, and we emerged from and continue to share DNA with all that is, all beings. And this brought up nature in a big way to me, right? Neon letters, so to speak. You know, and how we in Unity and in other New Thought communities claim our oneness with nature. We've been singing about it. David mentioned it. We meditated on it. And so we're going to be talking a lot about nature quite a bit this morning. And along the way, we're going to talk about finding our roots in the stars. To kick this off, there is an ancient Serbian proverb that I think is perfect. And it says, "Be humble, for you are made of dung. Be noble, for you are made of stars." Now, I don't know how long that little ditty has been floating around our race consciousness, but I'm going to bring it into some 21st century science, okay? Planetary scientist and stardust expert, now I didn't know there was such a thing as a stardust expert, but there is, Dr. Ashley King wrote this: "It is totally 100% true. All the elements in the human body were made in a star, and many have come through several supernovas." I just got a chill thinking about that. I mean, isn't that not the coolest thing you've ever seen about yourself? I mean, here I thought, wow, look, I've been through a supernova, whereas I used to think the most exciting thing I had ever done was one memorable Mardi Gras in New Orleans years ago. But, okay. We won't go there. Those of us who are familiar with New Thought know that one of our central principles is the immanence of God, right? This means that spirit is infusing itself, present in and expressing through everything, every person, all phenomena appearing in this natural world are manifestations of the one, one, one. So that when we say that God is all there is, we really mean it. This is not just a tagline to us. So here is some more genealogy for you about this. Back when I was in ministerial school, I read about how the emergence of human consciousness, our self-awareness, if you will, seems to have emerged coexistently, simultaneously with some sense of the sacred. For what archaeologists and paleontologists and anthropologists can tell, from the time we could use our minds to think in concepts, our early ancestors knew that there was something more to that visible world, something more to their experiences than they could see. It was the world of the invisible, the world of the gods, the world of a power that was greater than our ancestors knew themselves to be. So somehow our earliest ancestors knew that rocks and trees and water and plants and animals all had more, and that more was also accessible to our ancestors if they did the right things. So from the beginning, then, which I find delicious about our genealogy, we humans encountered, acknowledged, saw, found the sacred in everything. beginning with the first shamans who donned antlers or bear skins or feathers, to become one with an animal and call that animal into the clan so it could be killed and eaten with respect and gratitude. To thank the gods for sending game to them. Shamanism was the very first religion. The very first. Now today we may rely more upon the scientific method, and we may not wear antlers or feathers or bear skins. But we still use everyday objects to bring that holy into some graspable form. We want the invisible to show up as the visible, right? Because when we use our physical senses, we do this. And we use this to create a bond that allows us to tap into that holy energy. Because when we do that, we feel that it is one with us. It's there, it's inside of us. And so this has been part of our spiritual practices since day one. I mean, look at this, we light candles so that our eyes can see the light everlasting. We use drums and cymbals and music so that we can hear the call of God, right? We use incense so that we can smell the odor of sanctity. We use our own bodies. We kneel, we bow, we pray, we do mudras, we spin like Sufis to express our adoration of the divine. Yeah. So for us as human experiences and divine beings, the need to be able to bring that invisible into visible form is really important. Now, everybody talks about how wonderful it is to be out there in nature. It is really easy to appreciate the flowers and the mountains and the oceans. And I mean, my God, look at where we live. Are we not blessed? But if we see nature as something that is out there, well, I think we're treating it no differently than we do if we other somebody else and make them separate from us or maybe even alien to us so that we set them apart. We can't help but be affected by nature. But are we, in fact, recognizing a loving relationship with it? Are we seeing something more? Because if we continue to see all this beauty and all these phenomena as something outside of ourselves, something other than aspects of the one life, we are playing at a very superficial level. We're barely getting our toes wet in the shallow water. Elizabeth Barrett Browning wrote a very interesting little stanza in one of her poems that I think brings this dichotomy really to life about how some people can see and some people don't. She wrote, "Earth is crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God. But only he who sees takes off his shoes. The rest sit round it and pluck blackberries." So, the burning bush, which was Yahweh, or a source of food, so go pick some blackberries. Very different ways of seeing that which is. So the better we see, understand, and embrace that the world and we are one in God as God, then whether we are human, animal, a giant redwood, or a noxious weed, the more respect and love we will have for all of it. If you, like me, enjoy watching NOVA programs and nature programs, you'll know, interestingly, more and more scientists, researchers, biologists, and many others whose specialties I can't remember are discovering just how much and how clearly animals think, feel, and communicate. Now, for a very long time after we lost that sense of the sacred that shamanism really imbued us with, we made a religion of how superior we were to dumb animals. We left behind the shamanism into a more, quote, civilized way of worshiping, or so we thought. And instead of seeing the sacred in all things and knowing ourselves to be one with it, we saw ourselves as the apex of God's creation. The apex. And that we were given the rule and dominion over this world that was here solely for our pleasure and our use. I think you will recognize some of that thinking. But the joke is on us. We left shamanism, became civilized, saw ourselves as this apex being above, different from, and able to exploit everything else, right? But once again, science is revealing what ancient proverbs and early shamans already knew. We're having to get used to the fact that not only our dogs and our cats, but whales, dolphins, parrots, hedgehogs, marmots, they're all far more intelligent and communicative than we ever knew. Trees and plants communicate too. Yes, trees actually talk to each other through chemical signals that they exchange through their roots and tendrils underground. Biologists have discovered that trees cooperate to ward off fungi, to alert other trees of an incoming pest, damaging insects. And get this, trees don't do that just to their own fellow tree, kind of tree. They do it to other kinds of trees as well. They talk, they share, they collaborate, they cooperate, they care. My God, we humans have been trying to get that right for billions of years, it seems like. Trees are doing it. So, our long history of separation from the world and our belief that we were given the world to dominate and use rather than to love and live with has created a host of ills, many of which we can already see happening. But as I said, I think, I believe, I know that in general, humanity, most of us really do know that the physical world is not out there, that the physical world is more than can be seen or touched, right? That sense of the sacred, which is part of our divine inheritance, is there whether we acknowledge it or not. But it's there, and we know it. Because, for example, quiet and secluded spots soothe us. That kind of stillness rests our spirit. If you've ever sat for a time in the center of a grove of sequoias, which I have done, and you simply sit there, I would bet that after a while you would feel something more than just shade. Something's happening. So when we consciously enter into a relationship with this world, a relationship built on our understanding that we and it share the same oneness, I think we can't help but fumble our way to a different way of loving and respecting and being with all that is. I mean, whether it be a sequoia, which I just want to throw myself against and try to wrap my arms around, like 1/18 of it, or even just a little wildflower that breaks through concrete. The beauty, the care, the precision of its creation, sequoia or flower, is exactly the same. And I was talking about how earlier we use our 5 senses to appreciate this, to find it, to remember it, to acknowledge it. Well, we also use rites and ceremonies, ancient wisdom in concrete form. Now, I'd like to share a little bit about that with you because in my early upbringing, which was really very Catholic, I had to admit that the ceremonies and rituals of the Catholic Church were really quite awe-inspiring. I mean, even as a little bitty kid, I didn't know what was going on, but it felt important. And I think we have a primal response to ritual, to ceremony, that I think, again, is part of our genealogy, coming from that sense of the sacred as one. You know, and even if you don't know the words, you don't know what's happening, I think, for example, you respond in some way, particularly physically. You might feel a shiver up the spine, or an opening of the heart chakra, or maybe just this really inexplicable but sudden uplifting of spirit. Now, Mircea Eliade, who was a Romanian historian of religion, wrote wonderful books. And he wrote that rituals and ceremonies create openings whereby the divine can flow to us. He saw a manifestation of the sacred as something breaking through from one plane of being to another, and that rituals and ceremonies were the spot where this happened. Well, I respect him quite a bit, but I have a different idea of ritual and ceremony. Rather than ritual and ceremony being a means by which the sacred can break through to us, I see them as ways of helping us break through our own limited way of seeing, so that we see what is there already and has been there all along. Behind the visible is what is real. Now, here in the United States, we separate church and state, or we try. But in life, there really is no difference between the sacred and the profane, right? The stars and the dung, as above, so below. The kingdom of God is right here, right now, spread out before us, if we can see it. Now, we look for the sacred so that we can experience God. And when we experience God, we automatically recognize it as a fundamental truth of who we are, and we feel it everywhere. And I say, you don't have to look very far for God, do you? I don't think so. I mean, I can see it in a giggling baby, in a happy dog, in birdsong. It's right there. It peeps out from the dearest things. You know, so just pick up a stone and let it rest its still strength in your hand. And imagine, what did it see when it was buried so deep in the earth? Trees speak quietly, and they intertwine their roots like we hold hands. Stars beam down on us, their inheritors. Leaves wave at us from trees as we walk by. All of these natural phenomena are your family. Your family. And it's liberating and empowering, I think, to know that we are not only part of all that is, the universe is part of us. And with knowledge comes understanding. With understanding comes wisdom. And with wisdom comes love. Yes, we're made of dung. And yes, we are made of star stuff. And we're made of everything else as well. And to close, I'd like to read one thing from Khalil Gibran. All things in this creation exist within you. There is no border between you and the closest things, and there is no distance between you and the farthest things. In one atom are found all the elements of the earth. In one drop of water are found all the secrets of all the endless oceans. And in one aspect of you are found all aspects of existence. Thus, your life has no end, and you shall live forevermore. And you might just get to enjoy another supernova. Namaste.
I'm standing still, a life of pages waiting to be filled, a heart that's hopeful, a head that's full of dreams. But this becoming is harder than it seems. Feels like I'm looking for a reason, roaming through the night to find my place in this world, my place in this world. Not a lot to lean on, I need your light to help me find my place in this world, my place in this world. If there are millions down on their knees among the many, can you still hear me? Hear me asking, what do I belong? Is there a vision that I could call my own? Show me, I'm looking for a reason, roaming through the night to find my place in this world, my place in this world. Not a lot to lean on, I need your light to help me find my place in this world, my place in this world. Looking for a reason, roaming through the night to find my place in this world, my place in this world. Not a lot to lean on, I need your light to help me find my place in this world, my place in this world.